Okay, everybody, it is the last session we're going to have together today. Again, I've missed you. I'm hoping I'll get to see you again in the fall in actual person in some form or another. But today we're going to talk about Chapter 12 in Awakening Hope and then Tools for Recovery. So I'm gonna lead off here with Chapter 12. And really what it does is it begins to address, because we've been looking at solution the last couple weeks, the idea of finding a solution at all three levels of healing, right? So developmentally, this idea of increasing your trust in the attachment to self and others, and being willing to, increase your personal vulnerability and recognize and ask for support. I would summarize developmentally this idea of coming to believe that people can be part of the solution. Okay? At the end of the day, you do not need to be your own secure base. Other people can be part of your secure base. And in fact, ultimately, you can be part of theirs, right? And this idea that the interdependence is a much more solid foundation than either I am my secure base or you are, but we can participate in each other's lives in a solid way so that we can trust the relationship can handle conflict, disappointment, separations, right? That our relationship will hold. I have to trust the relationship will hold. It's the only way I'm ever going to be emotionally vulnerable, emotionally honest, right? The idea of treating and working through your early separation and developmental issues. You need to work through that broken early attachment. You need to talk it through. You're going to have to create a treatment plan for yourself and practice, right? This is hard. This is core issue stuff. It's going to take a long time. You're sort of more like chipping away at it rather than just successfully conquering it, all right? In terms of behavioral, this has to do with strengthening your internal observer. It's huge. Learning to pay attention, increasing your emotional intelligence, so you recognize how you impact other people. You're able to recognize how you impact them. So you're able to use your boundaries both to contain yourself and protect you from unsafe people, so that you can let in safe people, so you can learn to tell the difference. But a lot of it has to do with increasing your ability to see yourself accurately and see other people accurately, which then allows you to choose your behavioral response, so it matches, right? It's moderate. You're not overreacting, underreacting, overgiving, undergiving, okay? Biological consequences. This is where you're going to have to work on your reactivity, your constant fight, flight, or freeze response, that being triggered, to dissociate from your body, being triggered to, up and run, or to stand still and fight as though every single encounter is a potential threat to your value and your personal self-worth. So the idea, right, that I can pay attention to the effects that my behavior is having on my body, okay? Because your body will tell you the truth. In fact, remember that your body knows what you're feeling before you even name it. Your gut knows before your head knows, okay? So if your body's giving you signals, your body's tired, having pain, uneasy, pay attention. There's probably a feeling that goes with that. And then when there's a feeling that goes with that, there's probably something you need to do to take care of yourself in the situation you're in. Okay, bodies are smart. They also have cellular memory, so they retain information for generations. Okay, so pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Create a developmental plan for yourself, a treatment plan, so that you can, and I've got in here little developmental, behavioral, and some spaces here for you to create a plan for yourself. I mean, earlier this semester I had you do a codependency plan, something similar, except this one's more intentional in terms of addressing the actual 3 areas that we've been covering this semester. I've talked in here about mindfulness and mind sight that we talked about before, and mending the body through the gut, Okay, talked about that. Then we talked about relapse warning signs, and I gave some examples here, particularly of Karen. You know, in going through Karen's story here on page 190, you may see some signs and symptoms that seem familiar to you. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say from chapter 12, and then there's some, excuse me, appendixes in the back. So you could take some quizzes here about your own, where you are developmentally, right? Because we looked at Erikson's developmental stages. Where are the holes in your stages? Because you need to work on those, fill those back in, shore them up, so that your biological age is closer to your emotional age. Okay, for some of us, we're a work in progress. All right. And then I also want to turn briefly to your little workbook here. And in particular, I'm looking at this page. It's right before 113. It's got the drawing, right? And it's sort of a summation of what we've covered this semester. This idea of attachment interruption and behavioral response leads to chronic adrenal stress consequences, and then a recovery plan. So it's kind of like a little summary, right? So when you're thinking about your own little treatment plan based on my book, you can kind of take a look at this as your cheat sheet to figure that out, okay? And then I also have in here on page 113, I have, oops, I'm upside down here, hang on. Oops, what am I doing? Okay, looking at page 113, where I'm looking again at some cues and clues for helping you do things. Again, the goal of codependency recovery, we need to be seen and experience unconditional mirroring to heal our early narcissistic injury. So that means we have to develop a secure base that sees and hears us accurately. Okay? You don't need 500 Facebook friends. In recovery, we say 3. 3 is a support system. Okay? Figuring out finding a self, which means we're going to have to give ourselves a chance. The COVID virus is a great opportunity for some of us. We've got lots more free play time than we've ever had to sit with ourselves, and which can be mighty uncomfortable. But this idea of, being with me and tolerating my anxiety when I'm with me and figuring out what's up. What do I want to do? Who do I want to be? How do I want to change? How do I want to grow? Okay? I have some notes here on developing your internal boundaries so that you can feel in control of you and how you are in the world and how you impact other people. And you can also set some boundaries with people outside of you, so you again feel more in control of how close people get to you and how much intimacy you experience. Remember, we've got layers of intimacy, right? Some people will stay at the acquaintance level, other people companions, other people friends. And then I talk about how to tell, some review of how to set boundaries, because I know that's hard for a lot of us. And then I talk about inhabiting your body and gave you some tips here on figuring out, okay, how do I stay in my body? One of the fastest things you can do when you feel like you're leaving yourself is to use your frontal lobe and start naming objects. Lamp, computer, Kleenex, iced tea. That puts you in your front lobe, okay? Because naming is a frontal lobe issue. So when you feel like you're leaving your body, even quietly to yourself, start naming things in the room. That'll bring you back in your body. The other thing you can do to bring you back in your body is texture. Feel the texture of the fabric under your hands. Okay, when you can feeling, sensing brings you back in your body. Okay, those are some little quick tips. I talk about the idea of risking feedback. So being willing to let other people give us some feedback without getting all fluffy-tailed, right? Or punishing them for telling us what they see and hear. Okay, the only way I can see me is through you, meaning I need some feedback. I need some mirroring. Okay, that's the other way I help develop a sense of how I am in the world, and more importantly, also how I impact other people. Okay, I need to just trust, I need to work on learning to trust when I have attachments. Okay, learning to trust those long-standing relationships, people with long-standing histories of not abandoning us. They're not going to suddenly change their mind. Okay? And then trusting our own resilience. The fact is we're tougher than we think. Okay, we're actually stronger than we think. Okay, we're not just fragile flowers. Paying attention to your drama queen behavior. You know, if that's you, escalating, throwing a fit, tantrums, you know, using your feelings as an excuse to roll over people like a steamroller. Okay, paying attention to the long-term relationship consequence of that. I mean, short-term you can bully people, but long-term you're going to be alone. Okay, because as soon as they can get away from you, they will. Then I talk about the idea of self-care versus self-abandonment, right? This idea that I have to parent myself like I matter. I have to parent myself like I matter. Okay, and that has to do with how I talk to myself, how I treat myself, how I feed myself, my sleep, my play dates, what kind of people am I hanging out with. I need to parent me like I love me, like I care about me, like I matter. And then this idea of walls instead of boundaries, you know, if I'm the kind of person that makes people jump tests and jump gates in order to prove that they care about me, that's hard on people. That is really hard on people. Okay, and so taking a look at, you know, maybe I am shortchanging myself in the relationships I could have because I keep, you know, treating people with paranoia. Okay? All right, so that's the summation. Again, I'm sorry I didn't get to see you the rest of the semester. I've enjoyed reading your papers. I've enjoyed looking at your genograms. I've really, again, I want you to stay well, take care of yourself. Hopefully, we will see each other in the fall. Alrighty, take care.